Hi, everyone.
Welcome to Grow Up, guys. Today we've got an amazing guest. I'm sure you guys can see already. Everybody knows who he is. This is the mayor. Everybody loves him. One of the great heroes after what our country went through on 9/11. I couldn't be more honored to have him on our show or more honored to have him be so supportive of us. Thank you for joining us, Rudy.
Pleasure to be with both of you. Thank you very much for having me.
So I had to have you on for a number of different reasons. I mean, I love you and would take any excuse if we get you on the show to have you on. But I wanted to ask you, first of all, about this crazy Maxine Waters clip. For our viewers who haven't seen it, in the replay later today, there'll be a clip. But if you haven't seen it, I don't know what you've been for the past couple of days.
No, I have it right. I have a copy of it right here.
Oh, you do? He's got it there. In Minneapolis, she went there and she encouraged people to riot and become more violent if they don't get the verdict that they want in the Derek Chauvin, George Floyd trial that is going on right now. So I have to ask you, Rudy, with your background in law enforcement, my first thought when I saw this is if she was anybody else, this would be somebody who was, I would consider an accessory to any crime that happened thereafter. But this is also tampering with the jury, isn't it?
It's all those things. In fact, it's another illustration of how the Democrats commit the very crimes they accuse Donald Trump of committing, which he doesn't. This is another example of how they took his speech that had no words like this in it, that ended on the note of be peaceful and political, I think, peaceful and patriotic. Be peaceful and patriotic. That's a far cry from we've got to get more confrontational.
Oh, imagine if he had said that.
Imagine if I or Trump or Donald Jr. or Professor Eastman at that speech, which incited no one to do anything, if we had said just in mere words, you've got to be more confrontational, we'd all be in jail right now. But she, 100%. She's gone beyond. She's gone beyond that. I mean, she's basically. If I were a prosecutor, which I used to be, I have the newspaper article here. I love the headline: "Impeach the Dem," and the other one is a Democrat hypocrite. But I mean, it goes way beyond that. I came here for one reason, just to be here to make sure that my thoughts be heard. So she wants them to hear it among all those who have spent some time on the streets. So she's talking to the people on the streets
who have been burning buildings.
And I'm hopeful that the protests will continue. So it would be as if Trump were notified, which he never was, while he was making his speech, right? They're starting to enter the Capitol. He didn't know that. And he said, oh, I'm here and I want them to be more confrontational and I want them to continue. The phony press has ignored this absolute incitement to riot, and they tried to base an impeachment on perfectly innocent language. They were the ones colluding with Russia. They charged Trump with colluding with Russia. They were the one taking bribes and bribing Ukraine. They're the ones who bribed the Ukraine. We got 3 times now where the Democrats have committed serious federal crimes. And I guess that's where they learned the script. I mean, well, she's been doing this for years. I mean, I would attribute to her the fact that, particularly a year and a half ago, I had people spitting at me, throwing things at me, coming up to me and telling me that I was going to be condemned to death when I went into an airport. She was telling them to do it. And of course, she did far worse to a lot of my colleagues.
I mean, projection is their profession, you know, and I tell people that all the time. They are the kings of projecting what they're actually guilty of onto us. You know, and this is a recent example I had was we had a liberal organization tell us that it was so wrong of us to support constitutional carry in the state of Tennessee because 5 of the most dangerous 65 counties in America are in Tennessee. And I said, well, let me ask you a question. That's interesting. What do those five counties have in common? What do those 5 places have in common? And they couldn't tell me. And I said, it's that they're the only 5 places with Democrat mayors in Tennessee. And so you're projecting the ineptitude of Democrat leadership onto the rest of the state where everybody behaves lawfully. And if you took those places away, we'd probably be the safest state in the entire country.
You look at the increase in crime now. We're a third into the year. It's out of control. Last year, many cities had record increases in crime. I mean, my own city, which was well known before I was mayor as the highest crime city in America. So we're a city that knew crime big time.
Yeah.
Do you know last year was the biggest increase we ever had in crime, including all during those very bad years? We had a 50% increase in murder.
Right.
And 110% increase in shooting in 1 year. I don't think we've ever had more than 14, 15% increase, even during our terrible years.
It's insanity.
I actually didn't think, as an expert on law enforcement and particularly statistics, I didn't think it was possible to have a 50% increase in murder. I mean, that's a lot of murder.
I didn't either. It's insane.
Okay, so you think, well, maybe that's an aberrational year. Well, we're up 40% this year.
One thing I find interesting,
and we're up about 80% in shootings. And the city, my city, is now a city of fearful people, and it turned in 2 years under, of course, a Democrat mayor. For 20 years, we didn't have a riot in this city. Last riot we had was the last time we had a Democrat mayor.
Yep.
Now we have riots, and we don't even call them that. We had them all summer. I walked down my block, and half the stores were closed. They're never coming back. And I live in a nice neighborhood. I mean, the city is effectively being destroyed by a progressive, idiot, communist Democrat mayor who executes the same policies that the mayors in all these other cities. People ask me, why is there so much crime? I say, because he and the governor let the criminals out of jail to harm you.
That's right.
Yeah, the governor's no bail law lets criminals walk the street that never would have been on the street over the last 20 years. And the mayor, when he likes to, he just empties the jails. Like he did it during the pandemic.
Even
So
sex offenders.
that is very, very similar to Philadelphia, where we have a Soros prosecutor that does that. Atlanta, where we have a Soros prosecutor that does that. In Chicago, these prosecutors were paid for and put there by George Soros.
100%.
Yeah.
The guy in Philadelphia is getting thrown out by the crooked Democratic machine has had it in Philadelphia because their people are getting killed by this idiot.
Yeah. And I wrote an op-ed warning America about the Soros DA
I remember it,
about two years ago. And people didn't listen. And I said, look, all politics is local. Soros understands this. If we don't spend money in these places to stop what he's doing, these are not just like, somewhat crazy. These are absolute radicals. The one in San Francisco, Boudin, his parents were actually Weather Underground terrorists. You know this better than anybody. They killed a cop. He was raised by Bill Ayers. And this is somebody we have now running crime there. And he allows all types of crime now to go on. They release sex offenders. I mean, it's insane what they get away with. That was something I know on the trafficking side of things.
Yeah, well, I wanted to ask you, with COVID, they use this as a vehicle to get all sorts of radical left agendas through. Soros-backed and funded agendas. And we're talking radical legislation, like even what's happening in New York right now, this, idea of fully decriminalizing prostitution. And, where do you, with your experience in law enforcement, what do you think that's going to have on women, on victims of sexual violence and crime if this agenda, and there's 5 bills in America right now for this full decriminalization model. How do you think that will affect victims of sex trafficking?
Well, I think you're really onto something where you say COVID was, I guess, a fortuitous thing for people who hate America and want to destroy America. Some people think they caused it. I can't get that far. I can get as far as to say someone they're very favorable to caused it, the Communist Party of China. There's no doubt that COVID goes back to the CCP. And if it wasn't for Chinese corrupt ownership of a lot of our society, and by corrupt, I mean these companies are so desperate to do business with them. They're so desperate to get money from them. They'll sell out America. Mm-hmm. But before these idiots know it, China's going to own their company. Which is what happened to the people during the Nazi era. It happened to the people during the fascist era. Happened to the people of the communist era. People that were nicest to them, but not of their kind, gone as soon as they took over. Right. So that's what's happening. COVID was used for them to become petty dictators. Mm-hmm. And they have become petty dictators. People are walking down the street with masks on. They're all immune. I had COVID 2 months ago. I just got tested. I have antibodies. I can't hurt anybody. I can't give COVID to anyone. I can't get COVID from anyone. Mm-hmm. What do I wear a mask for? Because
but we're the ones who don't listen to the science, right, Rudy? We're the ones who don't.
Well, there's no science to that. That's just
none. There's no.
I think they want everybody to put the fascist progressive uniform on. The fascist progressive uniform is to wear a mask when you don't need one.
There's a reason why they do it in China.
Yeah, I mean,
yes, their air quality is terrible, but
Biden was giving speeches with his mask on.
Yep.
The closest thing to him was a camera 40 feet away. Yep. The only thing he was giving COVID to was a microphone. He wants me to respect him as a scientist? The guy's a phony. He's a complete phony.
It's all an act. We've seen all of them, captured on camera at baseball games, at parties, at private events. I mean, look at what Gavin Newsom did with his little vineyard, night dinner. I mean, these people are complete hypocrites, but they want to control the rest of us.
100%. There's a video of John Kerry on an airplane not wearing a mask.
That's right.
Yeah.
The worst place in the world is an airplane. I mean, you got to sit there for 4 or 5 hours with a mask over your face. You can't breathe. Right. You take it down one little bit to go like this, and she'll come up. Put your mask on. It reminds me of a movie like, you will put your mask on, or I will take your papers. You will go to the camp with me. We've got a camp for people like you.
I tell people all the time whenever we do speeches and we have to get on a plane, I'm like, look, I love this country because there is no other reason I would get on a plane right now and willingly put a muzzle on myself for 3 hours or whatever it is. There is no other context I would do that. Here in Tennessee, I don't do it. It's not something, we don't have an issue here. I have antibodies. I believe in science. If you have antibodies, there's no issue, and that's the truth is if you really care about science, this is something we've known for a long time. If you've had it, you have antibodies. Rand Paul talked about this with us. It's very easy science too. This is something they're all aware of, but they want to avoid it.
Of course it is. I picked it up. From the very, very beginning, and it is very easy science. It's very easy to follow, and it happens to be an illness now that we can cure.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there are more illnesses that we have to take care of now than COVID that are much more dangerous for us.
Yeah.
And I will say this. And in some ways, we're killing people. We were killing people when we were locking them in and we weren't allowing them to go for their cancer checkups.
It's much worse. It's much worse.
Yeah, the suicides, all of that has skyrocketed.
We've heard from parents that their child committed suicide over this.
Of course, I predicted it. I should tell you, Bobby, when it started, I gave a podcast and a talk. And I said, I have to favor the lockdown at this point because I don't know. At that point, I didn't. But I do have to say that we have to alert people to the dangers of this. First of all, we're going to have more domestic violence. The minute you lock a man in a room with a woman, there are a certain number of men that are pathological and they're going to beat a woman. I know that from being the mayor and being involved in law enforcement for 17 years. Mm-hmm. The worst day of the week was Super Bowl Sunday. More men would beat up women on Super Bowl Sunday than any year because they were together drinking. Second, you're going to have suicides, particularly by young people. You're going to have tremendous depression in young people. And if it goes too long, you may not be able to easily cure that depression. And finally, we're going to have a distorted society that comes out of it because human beings were not meant to be locked in cells, which is why we lock criminals in cells. Mm-hmm. And then it went way beyond what I thought. I mean, we should have been out in 2 months. Mm-hmm. In many places like mine, it went on for 7 or 8 months.
Yeah.
So I think it has something to do with everything, but mostly I think it has to do with the socialists took another big step. Mm-hmm. They got us to comply. They got us to become sheep. They believe they have us right where they want us when they could close down church for Easter and the high holy days. Nobody complained. Mm-hmm. That's why now we got to do what you're doing. We got to complain. We can't do everything that we want, but we can't always win every battle. But we can keep making a record of these things. And there's going to come a time within a year or two where we can get reckoning. By reckoning, I mean at the ballot box. But the only way that's going to happen is if we note it now. We can't then, it's too late then to say, oh, back a year ago, Maxine, the inciter of violence, incited these riots. We got to point it out right now. And then go back and show. We pointed this out to you. We told you this was going to happen. Let's not be like the people of Germany or the people of Eastern Europe or the people of many of these countries that are taken over. Let's step up right away. Yeah, you're doing a great job.
And
thank you.
Yeah, people become hopeless with this indefinite, control, and there's been no time. Nothing that they said is going to happen has happened, and the time's only been stretched out. Fauci was just cross-examined recently, and he wouldn't give an answer as to how long. When is this going to end? How much longer? At this point,
I think my phone.
Oh, you can't hear us?
Oh, he's not able to hear.
Okay.
Let me see if I can. Want me to call you back?
Come back.
Want me to call you right back?
Okay.
Yep. Perfect. Yep.
He'll be right back.
Can you hear me now?
Next, we're going to ask him about the CNN Project Veritas videos, that expose, the future of our party, because, you know, as he touched on China, and there's so much on the China issue that is going to affect the future of our country and the future of our party. So let's see, I'm just waiting for him to pop back in. He's still on the stream. It might take him a second. I don't think he knows how to use this platform yet because it's his first time on here. But by the way, I'm sorry I interrupted you. I was like, I had something on the tip of my tongue and I didn't even realize you were talking. I was like,
I don't know. I wasn't worried about it. There we go.
There I am.
there you are. Can you hear us now?
I can hear you great. I got about 3 or 4 minutes.
Okay, cool.
That's okay.
Go for it.
So yeah, with the recent Project Veritas, expose on CNN, the media being weaponized, working for China, echoing their messaging, what is the future of our party? With the media against us, with public opinion being tried to turn against us, the division in America, what can we do as Republicans going forward to take back our party?
First of all, we can have an agenda. Here's our agenda. We stand for freedom. That's a pretty powerful agenda, and it's really true.
Absolutely.
We're the last thing that stands between America and a socialist country.
Mm-hmm.
We're it. And we have to stop our squabbles. This is much bigger than us. Sometimes you're involved in politics. You think, well, I'll be in power. He'll be in power. This is about, we have to stop our country from becoming a socialist country. And I think a socialist country that'll be a form of a dictatorship. They're trying to form a one-party system. They're trying to ruin the Supreme Court. They're trying to set up elections so they win every one. I don't know. You need any more evidence than that?
Yep.
Right.
And 3/4 of them running around espousing Marxist, Leninist principles,
Yep.
both of government and of the way to get government.
Yes.
Riots is a way to get government. What I could say that Maxine Waters is saying that on purpose because she's a
Bummer. Oh, there he is.
she's a Marxist socialist who is. Let me say that again. I could say that Maxine Waters herself is a Marxist socialist. She's espousing these things to create chaos in our country. So we begin to hate our country and we want something else. The tearing down of the statues, the burning of the flag, the kneeling during the national anthem. All of that is to demean America.
Absolutely. I think you're exactly right. Freedom is the answer. And our best sales pitch to America is make America free again, because we have imposed some of the most radical things we have ever imposed on our citizens. And freedom is not a guarantee. Freedom has been guaranteed to us in history by great men and women who did the things that were necessary to secure it for the future. It is now our job to do that for people. And so I think that's our rally cry, is make America free again. That is what we need to do and fight for.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for being with us.
And I'll be back.
Today.
I'll be back anytime you want. This is an important message to get out. And, we are now the vehicle for getting it out. It's in our hands. We don't have.
Absolutely.
But for a few networks, we don't have anything but ourselves.
That's
Absolutely.
Right.
And we're going to bring you down to Nashville soon too.
I'm looking forward to it. Great interview. Thank you.
Thanks so much,
See you
Rudy.
soon.
Have a good
Thank you.
one.
Bye-bye.